Hi, and welcome to the Jomo and Michael Show.
Today we're going to talk about the atomic bomb and its effects.
Sounds good. The first thing we're going to talk about today is Einstein's theory of relativity. Albert Einstein was a German-born Jewish scientist.
He was known for his theory of relativity and the famous equation E equals mc squared.
Einstein did not originally want his theory to be used for violence, but once he realized what was happening in the war in the Pacific, he knew the atomic bomb had to be made.
The key to the atom's secrets was first given to the world in 1905, when the genius Albert Einstein defined the relation between all matter and energy and evolved his revolutionary theory of special relativity. Encouraged by their successful progress, Szilard discussed with Dr. Einstein in the summer of 1939 the results of their findings and stressed the urgent need for action by the U.S. government. Conscious of the disaster which would inevitably follow if Nazi Germany should be the first to succeed in releasing atomic energy, Dr. Einstein decided to write a personal letter to the president.
The letter sent from Albert Einstein to President Roosevelt said that there was a new generation of bombs that could be constructed by splitting a uranium atom to cause a chain reaction that would lead to an explosion.
The construction of the atomic bomb became known as the Manhattan Project.
The Manhattan Project was a secret military project created in 1942 to produce the first U.S. nuclear weapons. The directors of the project were U.S. physicist Robert Oppenheimer and General Leslie R. Groves. They recruited some of the best scientists, engineers, and mathematicians in the world, including Albert Einstein, Enrico Fermi, and Leslie Szilard.
The Manhattan Project, one of the most controversial human experiments in modern history. Like many other events in the past, the Manhattan Project has exemplified acts of triumph and tragedy. Robert Oppenheimer, an American physicist, first brought up talks of the atom bomb during the late 1930s, when Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party of Germany proved to be a threat to the world. Talks of such a bomb were eventually diverted to use against Japan after the attacks on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. President Roosevelt declared war on Japan the day after the attacks. The Manhattan Project began 9 months later.
The first atomic bomb dropped was nicknamed Little Boy. It was dropped on August 6, 1945 over Hiroshima, Japan. The bomb was detonated by firing one mass of uranium down a cylinder into another mass, creating self-sustaining nuclear reaction. The bomb weighed about 9,000 pounds and it had an explosive force of 20,000 pounds of TNT.
On August the 6th, 1945, two American Super Fortress bombers arrived over the Japanese city of Hiroshima on the world's most devastating military mission. The Enola Gay, with Colonel Paul Tibbets at the controls, was about to drop the first atomic bomb, a weapon conceived by a group of international scientists based at Los Alamos in the United States. So far, no one knew exactly what effect the bomb would have, either on the unsuspecting inhabitants below or on the crew of the plane itself. They were soon to find out.
As soon as the bomb went off, the whole inside of the airplane just lit up as if someone had set off a flashbulb. And then we had to wait, and this was our big worry, is what would the blast do when the blast got to the airplane? And finally the blast did arrive. It was like being in an ash can and getting someone kicking. And then we crowded to the window and saw just the whole city completely covered in smoke with this very tall mushroom cloud rising from it.
The number of deaths from the immediate impact of the bomb was about 70,000. At the end of 1945, about 100,000 people died from lingering effects of radiation. 5 years after the bomb was dropped, the death total surpassed 200,000, and cancer caused by radiation was the main cause of death.
The second bomb dropped was named Fat Man. To detonate the bomb, neutrons had to strike a heavy uranium or plutonium nucleus, which splits the atom, creating a tremendous amount of energy. The core of the bomb was a subcritical plutonium structure surrounded by several thousand pounds of high explosives. Fat Man weighed about 10,800 pounds, and it was 10 feet 8 inches long. The bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, Japan on August 9, 1945. It had an explosive force over 10 times of Little Boy.
Three days after the Hiroshima bomb, despite all the destruction, Japan still hadn't surrendered. A second bomb was made ready, and Truman issued another warning.
The world will note that the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, a military base. If Japan does not surrender, bombs will have to be dropped on war industries. I urge Japanese civilians to leave industrial cities immediately and save themselves from destruction. I realize the tragic significance of the atomic bomb. Having found the atomic bomb, we have used it. We have used it against those who attack us without warning at Pearl Harbor, against those who have starved and beaten and executed American prisoners of war, against those who have abandoned all pretense of obeying international laws of warfare. We have used it in order to shorten the agony of war, in order to save the lives of thousands and thousands of young Americans.
After the bombing of Nagasaki, about 75,000 people were immediately killed. Another 20,000 people died in the days after the bombing. There was also an estimated 75,000 injuries from the bomb. The dropping of the atomic bomb was the last major event in World War II.
The Enola Gay was a Boeing B-29 bomber. It was built in a program codenamed Silverblade that was established to build B-29 bombers modified to drop atomic bombs.
The crew of the Enola Gay was made up of Colonel Paul Tibbets, the commander, Captain Robert Lewis, the co-pilot, Captain Theodore Van Kirk, the navigator, Major Thomas Fearby, the bombarder, Lieutenant Jacob Beezer, the electronic countermeasure, Sergeant Joseph Stiborek, the radar operator, Private Richard Nelson, the other radar operator, Staff Sergeant Wyatt Dusenberry, the flight engineer, Staff Sergeant Robert Caron, the tail gunner, Captain Deke Parsons, the weaponeer, and Second Lieutenant Morris Jepson, the ordnance expert.